ridiculous. Also, I just realized as well, I'm on the live stream and I don't have it mirrored to the screen. I need to mirror the screen. So hello everyone. Because we're live now. I just started the countdown, but I need to go on the main screen. Give me a second. Yes we are, but I need to throw you on the second monitor. I just threw us up live right now, but I need to throw you on the second monitor. What the frick? What just happened? Oh my gosh, did I just exit out? Hello everyone. I just accidentally exited out of the new meeting with Nomics. Hope everyone's excited about that. Don't know how that happened, but that's okay. Wouldn't be Eli without technical difficulties, as everyone likes to say. No clue what happened here. Somehow accidentally knocked him out. Yeah, what's up?
How do you hide what you're adding on TCG?
At the top right, it'll say inventory status, and then you click on it, and then it'll give you an option to have a slide bar hide it. Welcome everybody. So sorry for the delay. Obviously, right now we're having a little bit of fun technical difficulty issues where I am being shown twice and Nomics is being showed 0 times. So I scammed you guys. He's actually not going to be on the stream. I'm going to be talking and having an interview with myself. So no, I'm just kidding. But as far as it goes, guys, welcome so much. He'll hopefully be back in a second. I just resent him the link, so he should join in a second. I have absolutely no clue what just happened. I click redo it, but all right, he's back now. I'm so sorry about that, dude. I literally clicked the open button to expand the screen, and for some reason it disconnected instead.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, then it wouldn't let me back in that old meeting address.
Yeah, absolutely no clue what happened with that. So, but we're here. Welcome everyone. Thank you all so much for stopping by. Today is going to be a little bit of a fun one. I almost did this on purpose because I was watching some of your videos recently and I saw one of the videos that you posted and I was like, that's so funny. That's actually extremely similar to the video that I had for Monday. And I was like, let's have him on the stream and we can discuss about the same topic. So, but of course, as always, we'll have a conversation about just about anything. But today, primary focus is really going to be just the state of, standard and kind of what's going on with PSA prices and everything. Is it worth to send your cards for graded slabs and everything and so on and so forth. But for those who are new to the channel, why don't you give yourself a little bit of an introduction for those of you who don't already know who he is?
Can everyone hear me? I'm seeing he's muted and then it's quiet.
Well, you weren't talking. I mean, wait, talk right now?
Everybody here?
Oh, I think you're quiet. Here, I just upped the volume. Start talking some more.
Everyone here?
Okay, you should be good now. I totally forgot. So I have you running on my thing through desktop audio, and
okay.
And I have it usually set to extremely low for background music, but I just changed it to extremely high so that people should be able to hear you now.
All right, cool. Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know me, my name's Alex. I got a channel called Nomics. Basically do a little bit different than Eli. I'm a little less I think Eli's probably more analytical even than I am, but I try to show the numbers and be real as possible. I know there's just so many opinions always circulating in this hobby, so I try to make videos showing as much of the numbers and really diving into the analytics and giving my opinions based on that, and then based off being back in the hobby for about 7 years now. And, seeing a lot of booms and busts and a lot of, obviously through the Pokemon Go boom, the Logan Paul boom, and just trying to give people, a good baseline or good idea how to navigate through, all these types of times, especially now when things are down and stagnant, and how to kind of remain in the hobby and not get too far down yourself. So quick synopsis.
Well, right on. Sweet. So, I'm kind of curious how you want to do this format. If you want to go back and forth, or I think it'd be kind of fun if you want to spend a lot of the times going through kind of the questions on everything going on, because a lot of people have questions for both of us. And so usually last time, I've done a live stream on yours. and basically you just Q&A'd me. You did a live stream on mine where, I Q&A'd you. So I think it'd be fun if, for most people that already know who we are, you give your introduction. People already know who I am. So what are your thoughts on just kind of just going through the questions and then we can just give our back and forth opinions on things?
Yeah, I'm up for anything. You know that.
Sweet. So let me just scan through some of the ones we have right now just because some people are just saying hi. So I want to give a shout out to some people that are here as always. Shout out to John Boy, DJ, Gabriel, Nick P. What's up, everybody? UT Long, always good to see you guys. Here's a question actually for you since we're starting off the top. John Boy asked the question for Alex. Did your live with Jake make you less or even more bullish on Pokemon?
Oh no, definitely not less. Come on, I know what I'm getting into when I have someone like Jake on the stream. I know where he and Dan, Catch 'em All Collectibles stand on modern Pokemon and just I guess Pokemon in general. Yeah, it definitely doesn't like shake me at all. I understand where they come from. I understand their points they make on kind of their experience and what they see. But no, I just think the demand for modern and a lot of all the modern cards and the chase of the modern cards is going to keep holding up this product a lot more in the future than kind of a lot of the older stuff, because even though it's older, a lot of it's a lot more common. I mean, you can open a unlimited WotC box and get every single hit you want in 2 or 3 boxes, where you couldn't do that with 2 or 3 cases in modern. So I think for those reasons, I still see a lot of bullishness in modern. So no, nothing changing about that. And I hope nothing changed your mind about it within that stream too. I hope everyone, takes all these streams with a grain of salt and, enjoys both opinions, but always make up your own opinion, not just what one person says, right?
Yeah, and I feel like too, one of the things that I talked about with you already, I've talked about this on other streams before, I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect for those people that are, whether it be, ultra modern like diehards that are like you can't invest in WotC or vice versa, but I'm very much on the side of, in regards to like each having their own value. So like if I'm going to go the route of like sending in cards for grading, for example, 9 times out of 10, if I'm going the PSA route, you're going to get so much more value trying to flip and like raw ungraded cards that are typically within black and white older, right? And in regards to WotC era stuff, if you've got like cards you can go and buy at a cheap discount off of someone's collection, and then you can send them in for 789, you're still able to make a decent amount of money doing it. Obviously some it's going to be a lot less than what it was like a year ago or 6 months ago, but there's still money to be made doing that. Whereas with ultra modern product, it's a lot different because the price of a 9 is almost the same as raw for most things, and so the risk to reward is so much less. But then if you're talking to yourself about like, all right, well, if you're trying to look at a safe long-term outlook, realistically, what's going to be safer? Well, if you're a huge fan of the hobby, at the end of the day, regardless if you're a huge WotC fan or a huge ultra modern fan, you should still think that both are going to do well, because at the end of the day, they're both in the Pokemon hobby. So then you really got to ask yourself which has the highest reward and which has the lowest risk. As it stands right now, what the bottom is for a lot of these ultra modern booster boxes. It's going to be $80, it's going to be $70 for some of the less demand ones, and even higher for the high demand ones, right? Other product like older WotC Air product that boomed 60 times X, 100 times X, we don't know what their floors are right now, and a lot of them are still making lower lows on like actual trending charts. Like we just had a record low sale for like PSA 9 Charizard first edition Shadowless that at its peak, I mean, we looked at it before the stream, it was like 63,000, and a recent sale I think on Heritage was like 17 or 18,000, something around that price point. So it's like it's dropped more than 75%. And for this whole concept that WotC is safe and it's not going to have this same level of retracement, especially for something first edition Shadowless, you got to be very careful with that, because there's still an aspect of overinflated value that you're going to see truly get retraced, especially once you have product, demand kind of go down.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, man. That floor is that's a main thing you need to look at, is when you're getting up into things that are hundreds or thousands of dollars. Like, yeah, you could say they're quote unquote safer or more established, but at the end of the day, even the biggest giant companies fall, right? And even the biggest giant cards in Pokemon can fall. And although there is, drastic upside, there is also drastic downside. And, when you're going into any investment, you always have to look at, how much you can lose as well as how much you could make off of it.
100%. Here's an interesting one from Gabriel, since I'm just going through. He says, I can imagine someone with a sign saying Pokemon isn't investable. Prove me wrong. And then Eli just walks up with the JoJo style on his hands pocket, just a swag walking. That's so funny.
Oh, hey, by the way, I did just pull up on eBay. So a first edition base set Charizard did just end yesterday. PSA 9, 17,100.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Price drop right there for you.
Yep.
Froggy just asked, do you do free giveaways? If not, I understand. We do free giveaways, Froggy. We announce winners on Mondays, and then on our channel, specifically Pokemon USA. So just comment and like and be subscribed to enter. But outside of that, what's up, Spencer? How's it going? Technical difficulties is my style. We do ship to Europe, DJ. You just have to pay Europe prices. Which while I'm here, I should probably I want to tease this now before we really start diving into things. So yeah, we already talked about this. So we've got about 8 packs left of the mystery giveaway stuff. So if you're interested in that, we're going to be, of course, releasing that on the 24th. For those of you that don't know, we came up with our own version of like the mystery pack stuff that like Poke Chloe and Pokerev do, except they're $10 cheaper and you get better guarantees with some of the like ultra modern product. One thing I did want to tease just for fun, and I'll do it live on stream, we are going to have as the main pull, as one of the main gold cards that you can get, or gold card packs, it's going to be a booster box fresh Fossil Unlimited. And it is a heavy pack too. I made sure that it was heavy because I wanted to come in and make sure that you guys were getting the most value out of the gold pack. And then also as well, the other pack that you're going to be getting in gold, I won't spoil what it is, but it's also going to be a heavy as well. And then about 70% of the silver tier packs are heavy. So really the value you're going to be getting out of this, it's not just the fact that you get one of these older packs, you're also going to be getting a heavy version. So since we're going to be breaking open and you have the option to keep it sealed, if you do get a gold, I highly, highly recommend that you open it on stream if you want to, and then I can totally seal it up for you and send everything, all nice encased in a card sleever and a top loader a card saver, because it's you're going to get a holo, or you're going to get a level X or a really good card from any of the other starter tier things, or an EX from some of the black and white era stuff. So, but just kind of wanted to give that a shout out. Once again, you can check it out at Pokemon USA. But now that I've done my shameless advertising, getting back into the next questions. Shout out to Mike, my favorite 2 PokeTubers. I appreciate that. Good to see mine's me. I appreciate that, John. Frog Games. Random question: is Dialga V Origins Altart the most expensive? Is the Machamp the most expensive now? Actually, I wanna pull that up. I'm curious about that. I'll actually have you kind of give a conversation. What are your thoughts on that whole thing? I kind of made a video talking about it, but what are your thoughts about the whole Machamp? Do you think it was because of like buyer manipulation, or do you think it was actually because people appreciate the artwork?
I don't know. I kind of appreciate the artwork the most. I mean, so I'm kind of biased. I like it more. I don't know, because in every other set, right, Machamp is never the hard-hitting Pokemon. I don't think it ever has been, one of the top-hitting Pokemons in any set, going all the way back to Base or Rocket or whatever it may be. So it does kind of have a little concern. But I mean, I think honestly, if it is manipulation, I think because everything is kind of stagnant, I think we might see more things like that, just because people are looking for other avenues to do things, and there is going to be price manipulation in my point of view. So is that card or not? I really couldn't say either way. What's your thoughts on it?
I gotta imagine it's manipulation, but to be fair, I could be 100% wrong on that. I did a full breakdown on a video, like going through on why I thought it was manipulation, and giving like my kind of bullet points for it. I I'm looking as well to answer his question. Machamp is the most expensive. Dialga is the second most, but Dialga is valued at $51 at its lowest. Machamp's $120. So Machamp is still more than double the value of the Dialga. So it's still the most expensive.
By far.
Yeah, by far. So it's like, I definitely appreciate the artwork, and Machamp usually doesn't get a ton of love, so I guess it's nice to see. I guess my thing is, and one of my arguments for it is, there's no way you can tell me that in the history of Machamp cards that all of a sudden this one card is going to stand out so much far greater. And you know what? Maybe I'll be wrong. And honestly, here's how I'll know I'm wrong. You want to know? And we can come back to this day and everyone can say Eli was wrong, because I have absolutely no problem admitting when I'm wrong. And especially in this instance, if the Aerodactyl from Lost Origin is the most expensive card in the set, then I will concede and say it was because of the value. Because the Aerodactyl card, I don't know if you've seen it, absolutely gorgeous artwork. Like, ridiculously pretty. And so for me, with a card that gorgeous, but it's an Aerodactyl, which I know some people are fans, but it doesn't have the same following as like some of these bigger ones. If that one can get that value all the way to the top, then I feel like that proves at this point we're in a part of the hobby where artwork is going to play a factor. And in all honesty, dude, I have absolutely no problem with that being a factor, because for me, it should be about the artwork. It shouldn't just be about the character, because that's what matters, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, my personal opinion, when I look at the card, I think it's better looking artwork than the Dialga or the Palkia or any of them. So, and that, when you take it into that perspective, it's like, yeah, I mean, the same thing with the Missy, right? Like, or the Star Eevee. It's just like, that card obviously is not a hard card to pull, but it's got a lot more value than some of like the Rainbow Rares or Alt Art like Beedroots. I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, I think there's definitely stuff being stomped just for the sake of it. And then I guess other times it's just people are just that obsessed with certain cards or artworks. I don't know what it is at this point.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I was opening some Astral the other day. I got the Misty, and then the first booster box I opened, I got the Garchomp. So pretty hyped to have both of those.
Yeah. Getting the value back. Pokemon Gym Hero is asking, these are auctions you're getting these sale prices from, correct? I don't know exactly what you're talking, what prices. As far as the Charizard, yeah, that was an eBay auction from yesterday. Ended at 17,100, 11 bids. It was from a legitimate seller, you know, authenticity guaranteed, all that stuff. So yeah, as far as I can tell, that was a legitimate sale at auction. I don't know other prices that we talked about. I think other prices we're talking about are just TCG player singles, you know, what they're listed at. So I think all the prices we're talking about are pretty relevant, wouldn't you say?
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, especially too, like, because everyone likes to talk about instances of shill bidding. I don't think it would be considered shill bidding if it was a lower price than it would be a higher price. Because when you're talking shill bids, I mean, there's no way that a shill bid is going to result in a lower price, because the whole point of it is shill bidding is a higher price, you know, especially if there's actual volume on the trade itself, like when you're going back and forth and looking at the bidding history. So, you know, I definitely think it's legit. But I just want to give a shout out to Sky. Shout out to him. He said, hey guys, hope everyone's having a great day. But one thing I also want to say as well, John Boy says again, I really do like how Nostalgia talks about what people can do starting now. The other vintage channels don't talk about what to do for intro people. I think he 100% brings up a great point, and I think that's the problem nowadays, where there's a disconnect between the two, like, kind of, you know, factions, is because that's exactly a lot of the mentality that, you know, ultra modern fans have. And I think you've seen that kind of directional shift, because if you remember back in the day, a lot of older videos that SM Prab put out was very much like, older rare mints are better, anyone can invest in this stuff, it's only $100 to go in and buy, like, you know, a heavy fossil first edition pack, or it's only, you know, $100 to go get a first edition PSA 10 like holographic card. Like back in the day when all these cards were like dirt cheap, you know, in the grand scheme of things now, you know, he was very much like preachy on that. But nowadays it's like, with everything being so much more expensive, you kind of hear them a lot more quiet on that, which is why a lot of the, you know, you find yourself seeing a lot more people turning to ultra modern, because they feel as if it's, you know, still not as cheap comparatively to what's going on nowadays, especially with everything getting expensive because of inflation in the economy.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of those like me getting up in my soapbox issue. Like for me, it's just, I mean, here's the deal: is for better or worse, a lot of the people who built a very large net worth in Pokemon cards that were in back then, just because they have a huge value now and they got rich, they're seen like, revered as like the top voices in the hobby. Just because someone did that does not mean they understand markets or they understand investing or they understand how to play things. It just means they were the few people who never got a Pokemon and were putting all kind of money in collecting something they enjoyed. That, I mean, most of them never saw this happening. Most of them never like, were thinking about the charts and the trends and investing and dollar cost averaging into things. No one did all this, right? They were just literally buying things they liked, and we all got extremely lucky. And so I think a lot of the channels, like the vintage channels, they get so many subscribers and followers because they have this history in Pokemon. They're revered as this huge name in the hobby, and they have this huge collection, and they did so well. And so other people want to go to that because they see how well they did. But in reality, it's just a really hard thing to get into. Because there's some people that they did know what they were doing, and they did do extremely well, and they do understand markets. But there's that whole other faction where it's like, if this whole thing never happened, this boom never happened, would those people be doing well in life financially, or would their collection just be exactly what it always has been, just a collection of Pokemon cards, which may or may not have value in some, and the boom just really kind of kickstarted everything, and it made a lot of people look like experts where they may be experts in the hobby, but maybe not experts when it comes to investing or playing markets. So that's the only thing I want to put out there when you're looking or listening to all the people with the biggest collections.
No, I 100% agree
with that.
I would agree with that. The only thing I would say, and I agree with everything what you said, but I still want to make this point so that people don't like misrepresent what we're saying. That's not to still disregard that they don't have the history and experience of being in the hobby, because they definitely have that, having known and gone through all the things since the inception of Pokemon. But what it is to say is that from an investability perspective, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be an expert on everything across the board having to do with Pokemon. Because like one of the examples I like to use is you listen to someone like Warren Buffett, who's one of the best investors of our time, if not arguably the best investor. Obviously his net worth is not the most, but he's an investor, not an inventor like Tesla and Elon. So you can't really compare the two. But with that being said, when you have conversations with him about certain things, and you've kind of watched a lot of his videos, one of the things that he was very anti was he was against cryptocurrencies, but then he also admitted to never knowing anything about cryptocurrencies. And so it's one of these things where it's like, if you had gotten crypto and you were smart about it and you knew how to invest in it, he probably could have made a killing on it. But, it's something that is not his bread and butter. It's always been the stock market. He's always known that kind of thing. So, and some people, of course, and he's revered for being an amazing investor for as long as he's been in the hobby, or not in the hobby, but in the trade. So it's like the same exact aspect can apply, especially when you're comparing it to like people that are, investors of WotC and older stuff. That's kind of their bread and butter. But then a lot of the times, they made money off of just collecting, and then nowadays they're saying that, oh, since I made all my money off of collecting this is the way to go. But then they aren't aware of the trending changes or the money that is to be made on this new form of Pokemon art or products, whether it be alternate arts or ultra modern sealed product or so on and so forth. So just being able to differentiate between the two, I think is very important.
It goes like that for any industry. I mean, someone that was like a true believer in Bitcoin way back, 8 years ago, who just held it because they believe, and now they became a multimillionaire. It doesn't mean they're an amazing investor, this great investment mind. They got lucky with one thing, or it's like that in the stock market. Someone who held Netflix since inception, since its IPO, because they really loved Netflix, or they started using Netflix and they liked it more than Blockbuster. There's all those situations all over the place. And again, like Eli said, it's not to take away from anyone's knowledge or to say everyone's in that same pool if they don't understand investing. A lot of them do. It's just, you can't just look at someone who has the best track record because they were collecting things they love and that hobby just so happened to go to the moon, because that same there's that same, you know, I'm not gonna use a name, but the same person in Pokemon and every other hobby out there that hasn't went to the moon, but there's that guy with the biggest collection and all the things. And if that thing would catch fire and go to the moon, he'd be a multi-millionaire too and look like a genius. So just be careful when you look into that, because now that things have cooled off, and a lot of the WotC and all that old stuff isn't going to the moon, a lot of people don't really know where to turn. And I think that's why I got, and probably you do too, got so much heat for when I got onto YouTube, is when I started showing the actual numbers, people got really upset because they saw the actual numbers of a lot of those slabs, of those older slabs, those older products. Then they saw the numbers of a lot of the modern product and how it performed as good or a lot of it better. And it really ruffled some feathers, where it's like, hey, I'm just showing the numbers. You can make your own opinion on the future, because I think that's the only way to combat this is, well, the future, people aren't going to want this in the future. People are going to go back to WotC in the future. It's like, hey, we can sit here and, you know, play with our crystal balls all day and shake the magic 8-ball, but at the end of the day, none of us know the future. I'm just showing what has happened and what could continue to happen.
Yeah, no, 1000%. I agree for sure. All right, so next question going on with that. Oh, I want to answer average player's question first. So he said, what's the specific pull rates for the mystery packs? So we've got 4 different tiers. So you have your standard tier, which is going to be the blue. That's always going to be at least guaranteed. So blue tier, you'll be getting like a Champion's Path or like Shining Fate. So it's basically the lowest tier where you're always guaranteed to get like an ETB specialty, you know, Sword and Shield era pack. And then you got 1 in 5 for your red tier, which you can get, you know, as worse as Cosmic or, you know, Burning Shadows, and then as good as a Shining Legends. So, and then silver tier, so that's 1 in 5, and then silver tier is 1 in 10. You're going to be getting either a, you know, Plasma Freeze. You could be getting Legendary Treasures. You could be getting a Flash Fire. And then finally for gold, it's 1 in 25, which, you know, Fossil, and then the other one yet to be named. So, but yeah, those are the pull rates. So we're going off of a very similar format to our competitors. So we just obviously, you're getting it for $10 cheaper, and you're getting more value out of the lesser packs, because 95% of the packs we're giving away are going to have, you know, Evolving Skies in them. And we're also making sure that 70% of our silver and gold tiers are going to be heavy packs. So you're guaranteed to get even more value on top of that. But moving on from that question, Gabriel says, do you ever think there will be an even bigger price, or do you ever think there will ever be, holy crap, I'm having a stroke. Do you think there will ever be a price boom bigger than the Logan Paul one, or has everyone learned from it and will mostly never get to overpaid prices like that? I'm going to have you answer that first.
I mean, this is one of those crystal ball questions, right? It's impossible to know. If I had to guess, as big as Logan Paul, I think it would be with the next generation if that happened. I think it would be with the next generation of kids who are, you know, 10, 12, 14 years old now, that grow up and an influencer from their generation, or just a release, or, you know, a huge event in Pokemon happens, to where all of them are in their, you know, maybe early mid-20s, maybe some in their 30s, and actually have money and with their jobs, and they can actually all throw their money in the market and support a boom like that. So that's probably the timeline I see it, you know, possible to happen again. It doesn't mean there can't be other booms in the hobby. I mean, when the market comes back, I could see, you know, a pickup in everything. It depends if Pokemon comes out with some new innovative type product, or some, you know, whatever they put, serialized cards. I mean, that could cause a huge rush. So there's other things that can happen, but man, Logan Paul, it could end up being a once in a lifetime, or a twice, 3 times in a lifetime type thing. I wouldn't be expecting something like that every few years, if that's what you're asking. What do you think?
So I feel like to answer this question, the only way you can answer is with a question itself, and that is, do you believe in Pokemon long term? And for someone like myself, the answer is yes. I do believe in Pokemon long term. So do I think that, based off of that belief, that therefore I think you could see another parabolic run of Pokemon? 100%. Because you saw people asking and saying the same thing asking the same question and, you know, saying, is it never going to happen again during the Pokemon Go bubble? And now here we are with an even bigger bubble. The real thing you have to just, of course, be mindful of is in regards to exponential numbers. When you're looking at, let's say, crypto, for example, I think crypto is very much correlated to the price of Pokemon products overall. It's extremely interesting to kind of track that. We've talked about it before on the channel. But if you look at, let's say, when comparing it to that, the price of Bitcoin, right? When Bitcoin went to 20,000, people thought it was insane back in 2017. And they said that you'd never find such a parabolic run like that. Then the price ends up going all the way to 69,000, which is 3 times that. If you look at it from a percentage perspective, the price from 3,000 to 20,000 from the prior high, or if you want to even go from the prior low, which was 1,000 to 20,000, that's a 20x return. If you look at from, if we're making the argument that we're in a bear market right now, that was only a 3.5x return from its prior high to the current high. If you want to go from the prior low to the prior low of what we're looking at right now, then 3K was the prior low. We're sitting at around 20x again. So you have to look at it from the perspective of where you're making these measurements from a parabolic, because if you're looking at from the prior high to the prior high, then you're typically talking about, if you buy in the top, you're looking at maybe 2 to 5x returns. But if you're talking about from new market lows to new market highs, you can be getting in at 20 to 25x times percentage points if we're going off of what's happened with crypto. However, you have to also take into consideration that these market cycles get bigger and bigger the more money that flows in, because the volatility starts to get less and less, and you start to see more money being moved around because of that. You know, obviously with the bear market cycle of 2014, it realistically only lasted for about a year for crypto. You know, it was 2014 bear market cycle, kind of dead a little bit in 2015, but then really started to get out and exploded end of 2015, 2016, so a year and a half or so. If you look at the bear market cycle of 2017, it was a 3-year cycle. So it was an extra, you know, it was twice as long. So who's to say that you couldn't see the exact thing? Oh, it looks like meeting will end in 10 minutes. So we might have to refresh the meeting soon here. But who's to say that the same thing couldn't exactly happen with, you know, Pokemon, where you're going to see these market bubbles and they're going to continue to get bigger exponentially over time. But since there's more money flowing in, the volatility for it is going to get less and less. And the time of these bear markets and retracement periods are just going to expand greater and greater. So, but that's how I like to kind of just look at it, very much from a market analysis perspective. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting way to look at it. I mean, if we're going to say that the Pokemon market's going to correlate to crypto, you know, I mean, I think a lot of the money that poured into Pokemon was because of crypto, or because, you know, just stocks or NFTs, or, you know, just all the crazy ways people were making exponential amounts of money during this time. You know, it wasn't tied to just like your labor or your work or whatever job you had. So I think it definitely had a huge correlation. You know, I just think there has to be some type of catalyst for an event like that. You know, I mean, not to say we're not going to have a boost in sales like we did with Pokemon, you know, Go Evolutions, but man, to have a Logan Paul situation, it was just kind of like we were in just complete euphoria for a while there. I mean, you remember how it was. I mean, I don't know how early you got back in, but there was times where literally I would buy product on a Friday, and by the time it showed up on my doorstep on like a Tuesday, I was already like 20 or 30% up on the product. Like, that was the kind of weirdness we were seeing. I mean, I remember like buying, you know, PSA, like WotC PSA 9 first edition cards and stuff. And I buy them. By the time they got to me, I was afraid they wouldn't get shipped, because before they even said shipped, I'd buy them like a Saturday night. By the time Monday, so many had sold that it was already like $100, $200 more per card. And I'm just like, are they even going to ship these? Are they going to cancel my order? So for that type of craziness, I don't know. I think it's going to take a lot more, but as far as a bull market, yeah, I mean, Pokemon's going to see another bull market coming. I agree with that.
I'm going to say something that might come off as a hot take. I think that people put too much weight in Pokemon, or on what happened with Logan Paul. I think that people are so focused on what Logan Paul did, and in all reality, if you look at what was going on before him, prices were already on an explosive trajectory. He just added to the euphoria of that, which was already there. And that's why he hopped in the time that he did, because he recognized how prices were exploding. If you remember when he did his first big break and he made a YouTube video on it, he was buying the booster boxes at 400,000, 350,000. Booster boxes were not at that price during the time before the boom. So he was actually buying near the peak of the boom. So in regards to what my personal opinion is, and I think it's pretty obvious in my opinion on what really caused it, it has to do with the fact of the matter that you have the government pumping money into the economy because of the pandemic, and you're having people staying home making $900 a week off of unemployment, and then having extra money to spend on things, and then throwing that money at old collections of things to do, because instead of going on vacation because everything's closed, why not invest in some things that I did when I was a kid, or buy some things that I did when I was a kid? Tie that in with supply chain issues. You have an oversupply of money, and then you have an undersupply of product. That just literally goes down to 101 economics of supply and demand theory, which goes to show you that, hey, when there's too few goods and too much money, the value of product is going to hyperinflate and go up. And so when you have something like that happen, and you really start to see, of course, that kind of back and forth build upon one another, because that kind of euphoria started to continue to drive into this market. It was only a point of inevitability when you started to see big, influencers come in and try and take advantage of the hype, because that's just what happens in every euphoria market. People see them making all this money off of it because they're coming in with big bags of cash, able to take advantage of it. And then as soon as something like this kind of happens, and you start to see the downturn, then a lot of them will start to disappear. I'm not going to say that's going to be Logan Paul, because it seems like he's something he's passionate about. But I remember, for those people that were in crypto for the longest time, this guy named Ty Lopez was super popular. He's in my garage with my Lamborghini guy. Never heard of him before anymore. He used to come out with all these YouTube videos, and he would have all these super popular guests on that were super wealthy, super knowledgeable about investing in stocks, cryptos, real estate. And you never hear from him anymore. And that was because when everything was going well, he was one of the most prominent figures there. But then when the bear market started to come and everything started to die away, then everyone started to get quiet, because the money to be made off of selling people buy into my program, buy into my breaks, I know how to invest because I have all this experience, blah, blah. All those people started to disappear. And so I really think it's more or less just a lot of these influencers kind of riding the train that was already there, trying to say that, they're a part of the reason why it's, at its point. They helped to it, but I don't think they were the main cause. But like I said before, might be a hot take. I don't think it's that hot of a take, but I'm curious what your opinion is on that.
Was his first box break 350,000?
You can go right now. You can go right now on his YouTube video, and he did a full YouTube video. I think it's got 10 million plus views or something, and it shows him on the phone going through, but the behind the scenes of him buying all the boxes and everything. And he was buying.
Wasn't that the second opening?
I think that was the first one. I know he made a second video. I mean, I could be wrong on it.
The second opening was when he went and bought the 6 boxes and opened one. But I was curious about what the first one he got was cost, because that's what I'm wondering is, were we already in a bull market and we would have saw a peak, but it would have been a much smaller peak without Logan? Or did he get in kind of into that bull market and then did that first opening, and that's what sent it into the giant peak, is what I'm saying. So I think you're right. We were 100% already in a trajectory to break any previous highs Pokemon had ever seen. I just think that the heights we saw probably got to those heights because of Logan Paul, because we started hearing about Logic and Steve Aoki and all these huge names, running into the hobby. I think pushed it to that kind of into the stratosphere type thing. But I think you're right. We would have saw, all-time highs to begin with, no matter what. But I'm not sure. Maybe his first box did cost 350,000, and he did get in during the heights. That'd be my only question about how it all went down.
Well, here, let's take a look right now. I can actually screen share this.
Yeah.
So we can take a look on the other screen, so people actually, how would I want to screen share this? I'll make it its own screen so that people can just see it. So if we go to the screen share of it, and then people should be able to see it on my screen. Whoopsie. Here, let's go share. This is the screen I'm going to share so that you can see it and everyone else can see it. So I feel like we can find that correlation by just going back and looking at a lot of these PSA cards, because I feel like that will just kind of tell us. So
Okay.
if we take a look at, and actually before I get into this, do you want to refresh it says we've got 2 minutes left. Do you want to refresh the Zoom meeting?
What do we have to do?
I'm just going to resend you a link.
Oh, okay.
So that's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to end it, and then I'm going to resend you a link. So just be ready for that. Sounds good?
All right. What is there, a time limit or something?
Yeah, there is, because we're running on the free one, and it says we have 1 minute and 30 seconds before we're out of our free time.
I got you.
So I'll send you a link right now. So give me a sec before we get into it.
All right.
Sorry about that, guys. We're apparently extremely cheap and don't want to afford or don't want to pay for the link, but we'll have him here in a second. Just gonna quickly send the link for him to rejoin. But yeah, definitely an interesting conversation in regards to what's kind of fun in regards to what kind of really caused the boom. But all right, give me one quick second. Send him that link invite. He should join here. And then I'll share my screen. Then we get into it. I'll also go through slightly because I'm a little bit behind. I'll go through and see if I can read some people's questions. Because I do feel bad we're a little behind on questions, but all right, audio's connecting.
Yep.
All right, cool, sweet. All right, so I'll share screen now just so you can see. All right, sweet. So going back to it, can you see it?
Yeah.
So boom didn't really happen. I mean, when did Logan Paul have his first box break? I guess that's the first question.
That's what you have to look at. I want to say it was like October, November timer, maybe. That sound right?
I don't know. We'll find out. Okay, so here we go. It's February. It looks like it was early February is when he did his box break. That's his first one. And he did his second one near the end of last year. Is what it looks like that I'm reading here.
All right.
So if we go back and we look at, like, I don't know, we can go back and look at the Charizard and so on and so forth, but let's kind of take a look. And I'm familiar with that time, but that was right before the drop or right at the peak. If you go back and look at that time, because if you're talking about, like, so look at this card, right? End of 2020. This was end of 2020. We're not talking like, start of 2021. This is where the peak was. And we can probably go back as well if we really want to do some full-on investigating. We can probably go to YouTube. We can probably go to Logan Paul. And we can look up and see what his overall Pokemon live stream. So, and we can see the first one that aired. So this is opening the $1 million first edition. This one was 6 years ago, opening 2 million. So we started with the 1 million one though, right?
No, I think this is so.
Was it the 1 million or was it the 2 million? Which one did he do first?
No, it's so the first one I see when I go to the site, it says I bought a $200,000 box of Pokemon cards.
Okay, so there you go. He bought it at around 200K. So yeah. When did he buy it? Okay, so the stream was end of October. So
that sounds about right.
Yeah, so if you look at like the prices, I mean, look, so it's around the same time. So I mean, maybe there is a correlation to it. Let's see if there's other ones that you can see that corollary factor, because it's hard to say because it was already in an upwards trajectory. So are you saying it was going to continue an upwards trajectory, or really he fed into that? And this is now first edition cards, right? We're not even talking about some of the older like product. Okay, so like here's another trend chart. This was right before October. I mean, look at the growth that this card was already having.
Yeah.
Do you really think that the difference between another 30% wasn't going to happen because of that? I mean, it's hard to say. Maybe we can look at some first edition.
You're right. No, I mean, it is hard to say either way.
It's really tough because when you're looking at a slow progression chart, it's not like, obviously that Dragonite was just a straight up shot, but the other one was a slow progression. So it's like, all right, if we look at this time, okay, so here, right? You have, and this is where it's really tough for the first edition ones, because you have such low volume sales, you can't really tell. His video was in October. It wasn't until a month later where you got that initial new breaking sale for, such a higher price, and the prices were being bought at these prices by Logan Paul.
Right.
So it's like, was it more or less he was, influencing the price of these cards because he was responsible for buying them at these higher premiums? Or was it he was influencing the price of these cards to cause them to go, like, I don't know, especially when you have such low volume on first edition ones?
Well, I think it was, I mean, yeah, you're right, though. It might not correlate perfectly. I mean, I think another part of the uptrend, too, had to do with, like I said, all the celebrities. So I think, like, word got out that he was buying things, and then Justin Bieber was buying Pokemon cards, then Logic, then Steve Aoki. I think, like, just the news of celebrities getting into this also helped it out. But, yeah, I mean, my only concern of it happening again would be, what segment of people that enjoy Pokemon didn't get hit with that, right? Like, who out there, didn't get into Pokemon during that era, but is going to get into it with something else happening. That's the only thing I'd be worried about. But you're right that it wasn't too far off the highs when he got in. I mean, he definitely didn't get in near the bottom, and then it skyrocketed. We were already in an upward trajectory. That's definitely something to be examined. I never really thought about it too closely that way.
Yeah, I mean, $200,000. It's not like, oh, he was buying them in at like 10K, 20K, 50K. It's like, no, he was buying them at still really high prices. Obviously, it was a second video that he made the highest one, so I was off on that. His second video was the one where he was buying them for $350, $400 a piece.
But they were 30 to 50K for a while. Like the first edition base set booster box, like they were never in the hundreds of thousands. That was all during the boom.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. So that's where it's like he was buying in at that upwards trajectory, and at that time, yeah, I feel like this is what I think we can say. I think that he wasn't the catalyst that caused the market, but he added to the euphoria. I think that's a safe prediction, because you can say to yourself that COVID money, supply chain issues led to the boom of Pokemon and people staying at home rather than going on vacation. But then because everyone was staying at home and doing all these things, all these celebrities started to do the exact same thing that everyone else was doing. And since they have a bigger influence and bigger money, they added on to that euphoria that the rest of the market / hobby was already doing.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, though. I mean, I'm glad everyone here watching this saw that too. I mean, that's a huge data point to think about, is that the boom was happening with or without Logan, opening that box.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a coincidence too that if you look at the correlation between when the prices of Pokemon products started to really skyrocket, or started to really tank, it was several months after he did his first one. So you can't say necessarily that he was such a factor, because shortly, a couple months after, sure, you started to see new all-time highs around the same time, but you also started to see a fall around this couple months after that. And you know what that correlated directly with? It correlated with the government lowering the funding on overall unemployment checks, because around early 2021, you saw them no longer handing out $900. They dropped it to $300. They dropped it to $600. And so a lot of the funding started to get less. And since things were opening up again and people were starting to have to go back to paying their rent and expenses and stuff, because a lot of states like California, where putting freezes and holds on like having to pay rent and stuff. So, you know, $600, it's not the same wiggle room as 900, especially when you have expenses you have to pay for now when things are opening back up again. So, and then of course, really it started to die out, you know, when funding over the summer and people were starting to get, this last summer in 2021, when funding started to kind of dwindle and, you know, unemployment started to run out for most people because they didn't renew the funding on it. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people always forget that because we have such short-term memory, people forget how much money that everyone was getting from unemployment, because everyone really thinks about like, oh, well, I got the stimulus check that was only $1,400. It's like, yeah, but you were also getting $900 a week for almost a full year. And that's like $40,000 to $50,000, which most people don't make in their life. Like the average American, I think it's like $40,000 is like the average salary of a like American, and that's you know, that's a lot for not working, you know.
Ton of money. Yeah, I mean, it was like a perfect storm. You know, it's that perfect black swan event. You had influencers pushing it. You had extra money. You had people sitting at home. They couldn't go out to eat. They couldn't go to concerts. They couldn't travel. It was just the perfect storm. You know, I mean, I don't think we can put our finger on exactly one thing that made it happen, but and again, like we said, it was already in a bull market before then, and there will be more bull markets after that, you know, with or without Logan Paul, with or without you know, a COVID or something. I mean, there's going to be more bull markets in Pokemon where prices rise, because the biggest thing people forget in the bear market is when you start seeing these, you know, these sales lower and lower, and this auction ends lower than the last auction, and now people are lowering their prices, and then people are undercutting each other trying to get out of products. The same thing is true on the way up, right? You'll constantly see things sell for more and more, and then you won't be able to find product, and then one will come in the market and it'll be a bidding war to get it because it's so in demand, and things go up just the same way they go down. And you know, it's easy to get caught up in either one. Like right now, it's easy to get caught up in doom and gloom. When things are going up, it's easy to get caught up in FOMO and paying overpaying for stuff. So yeah, it's always good to keep that, you know, kind of baseline either direction.
Well, that's the thing, man, is the reason why I like looking at statistics so much, and a thing that a lot of people don't realize, and this is what I love about trading and just charting and everything. What it is it's numerically finding a value for people's emotions. Because a lot of the times when you look at just markets in general, it's very much emotional based. Like there's I love to show this, and I can show, this market psychology chart. It's one of my favorite ones I love to show all the time. But basically what this chart does is it's a full representation of what a market cycle looks like based off of individuals' emotions. And so that really, for me, shows the correlation of what is going on in an actual market cycle.
This is the secret to Eli's success.
Yeah, understand. I mean, it's true, man. If you literally look at how certain markets are, you have these levels of emotion in, once again, euphoria stage of, and you can totally find this too by just going through social media, and you can find the because there's this thing called the fear and greed index. I don't know if you've ever heard about that, but basically what it does is it tracks the tweets and social media posts of individuals that are posting either negative or positive things, and it tells you correlations to how positive people are feeling about crypto or Pokemon and how negative they are, and the correlation is identical to what charts are showing. When people show a lot of positivity in the market, you tend to see there's more positive tweets about Pokemon, everything's going to the moon, we're all going to be rich, and then as soon as you start to see prices go down, there's a correlation of that negativity in the market. And so the emotions are what drive the market, but it's represented from a charting perspective, because we're able to kind of make these predictions looking at this algorithmic chart versus, whether it be using Fibonacci and other forms of, tracements. But we're able to basically just make sense of things from a perspective in which we wouldn't be able to relay emotions as an actual visual, if that makes sense.
Here's my question before you take that chart away is, what's the rest of that chart supposed to look like?
Well, it's is
that like a product life cycle? Is after that euphoria, stage, is it saying it doesn't make it back to there? People gain disbelief and it doesn't make it?
No, it's a loop. So if you look, it ends at disbelief and it restarts at disbelief and then it goes back up to a cycle. So it's just an infinite loop that gets bigger and bigger over time. So what it's trying to show you is you start at disbelief, right? And then you go all the way to euphoria, then you go back all the way down to anger, and then you restart the rally at disbelief, you come loop back around to disbelief, and then you have a new market cycle. So it's just showing you that market cycles are on loop. So like if we go take a look at...
The only criticism I would say of that chart though is I wouldn't say it's gonna drop back down and crash down to 2 or below what the original prices were of this stuff. Because I mean that chart showed that the anger it was like all the way down at or before it even started to trend up. And so I just can't see things going back to what the prices were before the trend. Do you? You see what I'm saying? The very bottom, like the very bottom of that chart is actually lower than it was before it started to trend up. Like I don't see Pokemon dropping that far.
I mean, if you're looking at the difference between the rallies, the disbelief point is higher than the disbelief at this point. So it's
I was saying like kind of the anger depression, like it goes below the old disbelief point. You see that?
Yeah, but I think it's not, how do I want to say this? This is like a small like reference, but what you're actually like what it's actually trying to represent, I'll show you what it's actually trying to represent on like a Bitcoin chart. Okay. So like if you look at like a Bitcoin chart, for example, right? This, I mean, just compare these two. Like they're literally a perfect comparison of what you see in a chart. And as you can see,
the valley isn't as deep as the price was before the initial spike. That makes sense.
Yeah, so you have, this is your disbelief stage, right? You're sitting at 3K and you're going all the way up to 20,000, right? And then look at where the inevitable bottom is. It's 3K. So your disbelief is your prior high, but if you look at what it was before that, because it's only represented on a smaller scale, you have the exact same chart. Actually, this is a different one. Whoopsie. I'm on a weekly. I'll have to do this on a daily because this is like, we're getting in the old times. Like this is old crypto times. So here's on a daily. This is the chart represented, right? And now let's go to 2014. This is 2014. So if you look at that all-time high before, once it went to 1,000 and then it went all the way down and then it went all the way back up to 3,000 and then it went all the way down and then it went all the way back up again. It like continues its cycle retracements. The only difference is prior highs become new lows, if that makes sense. So like, for example, this is a perfect correlation. People thought I was crazy. Like when I said that I feel like the bottom was going to be around for crypto, 17,000 to 20,000. But if you look at what the prior all-time high is, right, it's 19 to 20,000. Look at where we've seen a major support long term. 19 to 20,000. We're sitting at critical areas of support long term. So to say that when you're making such high levels of correlation between crypto and Pokemon, the fact of the matter is these old areas of highs in certain market cycles become new lows. And so to take a look at, let's say, I don't know, like a Charizard, for example, where if you look at the long-term value of the item itself and...
Is this Charizard?
Yeah, this is Charizard from Dragon Frontiers, but we can go back we can go back to a different one. So let's go back to like first edition base set. And this is where people might think I'm crazy with this, but we'll find out and see how crazy I really am. And I feel like I want to look more at the Lugia because I feel like the Lugia first edition is an even better indicator of this. But like if we look at the prior, like if we look at the 10, right? We don't have a full ton of history to kind of look at it, but we're going to make an argument and say that the prior like overall high was at around $40,000, right? You're talking about that's where you had that kind of peak for around the longest time, right? That was the prior high. We're currently sitting at $270,000. I don't think it's unrealistic to think that the price of the Charizard couldn't go back to 100K.
Well, let's check the 9. The 9 probably has more data. Okay.
So if you look at the 9, and if we're going off of the prior high, it was around 8,776. We last sold for 17,000. So we're literally less than 50% away from its prior. And that's like we've dropped 75%. So you're telling me that 50% from our current place is like, that's very realistic. Like you could totally see that happening. Like it's not that far off. Like if you're saying to yourself, okay, 62,000 and we've already dropped more than 50,000, like, or is that right? No, more than 45,000. Like, you're telling me we can't drop another, like, $5,000? Like, it's not that unrealistic to happen. Like, that's not a far ways away in the grand scheme of things,
No, I think low teens is realistic, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, prior highs around $9,000. You hit low teens, you're only a couple thousand after that, slightly higher than the all-time high. I mean, that just totally makes sense to me, obviously. But I like looking at the Lugia personally, especially the 9, but the 10 is also a good one to look at in Neogen, because you want to talk about one that has, like, you want to talk about a retracement. Oh my God, dude, this is disgusting. Look at this chart. Look at the chart on this. Like,
what is this, the Lugia?
This is the PSA 9, dude. Like, it's continuing.
Oh, it's the 9?
This is the 9, dude. Look at this chart. Look at how aggressively low this chart has gone. Like, I think this is over retracing. Like, I know people that are selling it for less than 2,000 right now, which is crazy to think about, because
what's the population?
455. I mean, obviously the 10 is so much like greater, but 455 is still not a lot.
No, that's low. That's lower than a lot of. I mean, there's even first edition base cards. I think they have more than that.
Yeah, no, it's retraced heavy. I mean, 10, obviously there's only 43, so there's going to be a low volume of sales. But I mean, even if you're talking about that, it's more than a 50 to 60% retrace. And so to say that the old high, I mean, we don't even have the sales down in the old high because the volume is so low. That's where I think it's harder, is if you see a lot of these like high population cards, it's a lot easier to really track the data on it. But for a lot of these low population, it's so tough because sales happen realistically. I mean, look, like this sale happened 2017, right? Then you had another sale like 3 or 4 months later, another sale 3 or 4 months later. So realistically, a lot of these sales only happen every like 4 times a year, like, and sometimes only twice a year. So it's a lot harder to track these sales versus you track the 9s and you can really see where the retracements are coming in on the 9s. So
yeah, when you get into those PSA 10, WotC, or even Nintendo era, low pops where they're like under 100 pop or under 80 pop, they're a little more insulated from the highest drops, but when you get into like the multiple hundred copies of PSA 10s, then obviously the PSA 9s, those are going to be a lot less insulated from those markets because there's only a handful of people out there that are, can drop 50 grand, 100 grand on a single card. And, when there's just not the buyers and those people are putting their money elsewhere in times like this where they're wanting to, invest or use those funds somewhere else, and someone wants to get out, there might not be those buyers ready to buy those things. And then the auctions end lower. When people see the auctions end lower, that, starts in their mind subconsciously saying, oh, the price is dropping. This is now the new floor. And it's kind of like that self-fulfilling prophecy of how things go up and how things go down. But yeah, I mean, as far as like a 43 pop, something like that may never see the lows like a 200 or 300 pop we'll see.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting to see too is, this is very much just the continuation of deja vu, where back in the day when the crypto market was crashing, I remember for a while when it dropped all the way down to 6K, people were saying it's never going to drop lower. This is the bottom. It'll never go lower, bro. Like, you heard that so much. And then when the price crashed all the way down 50% in a week, everyone was like panicking, saying it was going to zero, because they're like, buyers will never let it go all the way down to 3K. That'll never happen because they just wouldn't let it. It'd be too cheap. And then it drops 50%. And so, like, to say never is like, that's just against history, especially when you're talking about the fact of the matter that happened for crypto during a bull market in the stock market. Now, obviously, crypto has now become extremely correlated to the stock market. Before, it was very much isolated and it followed more commodities. But since it's become more institutionalized, not fully, but it's become more of, you've started seeing more of a correlation. This is the first time we're going to see both crypto and we're going to see both, stocks and Pokemon go into this really deep, stagflationary period that we've seen in a very long time. Like, don't get me wrong, like, we had a market crash in 2008, but the inflationary period and the, interest rates, we haven't seen these prices in over 4 decades. So it's going to be a completely different situation for us to look at these kind of things. And if you're telling me that when you just recently, within this past week, we hit record high inflation again, And that's with the Fed increasing again another 0.75 basis points, and they're going to increase it one more time by the end of the month, and they're going to have to keep going. So it's to say that, like, with all these prices continuing to like progressively drop more and more, and it's like you don't want to catch that falling knife. Everyone wants to try and call the bottom, but ultimately speaking, if you're in a downtrend, the trend is your friend until the end of the trend. And so until there's literally any sort of change in this trend where it's not continuing to go down, and you see some form of like re-aggression upwards, then I gotta go with the trend, you know? Especially, I mean, like I said, man, this market right now, like, we're going into tough times right now in the country in regards to what's going on.
Yeah, and as far as like buying a one-off card like that, like you can't, there's no dollar cost averaging in something like that. It's not like a stock or a crypto where you can literally like buy on the way down and average yourself in. It's like when you're buying a one-off card for your collection or an investment piece, you get one chance. Like, so you're trying to get it the best price you can, but realistically, it's not like you're going to buy one at, 10,000, buy another at 13, buy another at 8. I mean, you're not going to be, most people aren't going to be buying 3, 5, 10 of these cards to average in. So yeah, I mean, that's why you can get hurt really bad when you're just buying one of something, because you can't average in. And then also, like you said, with the whole economy, I did a video on it. So an average $300,000, it's like a $300,000 home across the nation right now with the interest rates of houses, it's going to cost you like an extra $500 a month. For the same exact home you could have bought back when interest rates were around 3%. And not only that, you get less house now because the houses are so much more expensive. So you're paying $500 more payment for a less expensive house. You got another $100 or $200 a month in groceries. You got more in gas. If you have kids or whatever, you have more expenses. I mean, realistically, the average American's paying around $1,000 extra a month if they're moving into a new property and with everything else going on. So that's $1,000 less going into things they want to do, like going out to eat, concerts, buying Pokemon cards, traveling. And $1,000 is a lot when you talk about the average, whatever, 300 or 400 million Americans we're talking about. I know they're not on the Pokemon, but that's the amount of money we're losing from the economy going to interest payments or just buying the same exact food or gas they used to buy or household items just for more money. And yeah, that's definitely it's going to spell problem. I get like the high end stuff, the highest end people, they're not as hurt. But what do the highest end people do when things are like this? They put their money into those traditional investments they didn't want to put it into at the highs. So even their money's going opposite places other than like the hobbies they enjoy. So yeah, I'm with you. Even the top markets are going to feel struggle as well.
No, 1,000%. And like, too, I've had this conversation before when people say, you can't invest in ultra modern product because everyone's going to be doing it. Well, guess what, guys? It's like, it's going to follow the same concept of a market cycle where when you're talking about even big time investors that need to sell liquid. I mean, think about it this way. And I made a video about this because I was talking to some people in regards to what's going on with local game stores. When you have a lot of people that are transitioning from a bull market to a bear market, and you have LGS stores running up their credit cards, LGS stores opening up, taking those risks and taking those payments and trying to buy as much product as they can to flip. And then all of a sudden, within just a snap of the finger, the whole market does a shift. And then they're sitting on thousands of dollars of, credit card debt to repay this product that no longer is valued at nearly what it was because of reprints, because of a lack of demand, because of the economy. All of a sudden, all this product needs to be sold right away, and it needs to be flash sold so that you're able. I was literally talking to Nomics about this literally right before stream. My distributors right now are bleeding desperately. They're taking a lot of this low demand product and they're selling it for 25% to 50% less than wholesale. They're also selling a lot of older high demand products. For example, I bought a Cosmic Eclipse 5 cases worth of build and battle boxes for $129 for a case's worth. Right now, market value for that thing is probably worth $600 to $800. If they were to sell something like that a year ago, they'd probably be selling it 10 to 20% less of what the current market value is. But they're so desperate to get money right now because of no one buying product that are retailers, and of course, in turn, no one buying product as consumers, that it's just a trickled like down chain and cycle of people not being able to afford things and spend money. And so what are they going to have to do? They're going to have to take their high-end items that they had, their more expensive items, and they're going to have to sell it at a fraction of a price or at a lot greater of a discounted price than when it was at its market highs. And then in turn, that's just going to continue to drive down the prices. More and more people have to be doing the exact same thing. They're in the exact same boat when they're in financial hurt.
Yeah, and another point to that is people kind of get this perception in their head, like, oh, well, the big businesses, they just get those products so cheap. They would never take a loss. Like, no. Even the big stores are taking losses. When you see like those Pikachu V boxes going for like $11 and $12, with whatever eBay fees they have established with eBay, I'm sure it's not the full price everyone else pays, but even with whatever fees they're paying and shipping, they are losing money no matter what deal they work for their distributor. They're not getting those boxes for under, $11, $12 minus shipping, minus some fees, $7, $8. They're not getting those boxes for $7 or $8. So you are finding times where even the biggest stores are taking losses just to get cash flow, just to have money for, Pokemon Go's coming out. Got to get rid of that because now the next set and the next set. So they're having to constantly wash product to free up capital to buy the new sets and hope that another Evolving Skies or Celebrations is down the road, because that's when they're going to make their big hits again. But they basically just survive through these times when products come out of the gate now at $100 or under $100, when before every booster box was coming out of the gate $120, $130, and everyone was making profit and everyone was happy. So yeah, don't think that just because they're the big guys, they're all making money. The reality is a lot of times they're not.
Speaking of those Pikachu V boxes, you want to hear something even crazier too? So the Pikachu V boxes and the Morpeko V boxes, they were unable to sell a lot of that product. And so what they did is they basically just gave it away for free because they couldn't sell it. And so recently my distributor came out with a program which was based off your over sales volume for the past 2 years. They were going to allocate you Pokebucks, as they like to call it, which was basically you could spend free allocated money to you for the volume that you had spent over the past 1 or 2 years. And it was their way of basically saying thank you for like being our customers, and just so that they could offload their product because no one was buying them. So I got 4 cases of Morpeko V boxes for free because no one's buying them. Literally no one's buying them. And so they're straight up giving them away. They were doing a bundle for the Cleaver and Lucario V-Star. Buy one, get one free. So I'm basically getting them at that point for $10 or like $14 a piece. And their retail price is supposed to be $49.99. And I'm struggling to sell them at $20, which wholesale for them at the time was $30.
It just goes, it's beyond words. Another thing is, I know I kind of upset some people about the PSA thing, with the whole $18 grading. Here's the thing. If you just go on eBay right now, you can type in just CGC or PSA, just type in Pokemon PSA or Pokemon CGC, go to completed listings, not sold listings, completed listings, and look how many do not even sell. Like they're listed at like 99 cents with $5 shipping and they don't sell. Like $6. People can't get rid of some of these CGC and PSA slabs for $6. And people are telling me how $18 is a can't lose scenario. And even sales, you can go to sales, just go to sales on PSA or CGC cards and sort by lowest first. And I know there's gonna be some, fake sales in there with like one bid, it didn't really end, but there's a lot of sales that have multiple bids, like 2, 3 bids or ended at buy it now. People are taking like $7, $8, $9, $10 for their cards. And so there's going to be big losses in this big grading, trend, but I'm not saying that means all the graded cards. I'm not saying that if you grade the right cards, get high grades, you can't make money. I'm just saying grading is not this like gold rush where all you have to do is send whatever cards you want in to these grading companies, get it back, and now all of a sudden you're up 50% or whatever percent you want on your money. There's going to be some dark times, especially in 6 and 9 months when PSA gets all these new orders back. So just be really careful when you're sending in mass cards to get graded just because they're $18.
This is a perfect example of what you're talking about. Look at the disparity between Nines and Raw right now for such as Leafeons, and look at the population. This is a PSA 9 with a 40 pop, and the value of the PSA 9 is almost identical to that of the raw. If you're sending them in for $18, you're not making money if you hit these 9s. You're only making money if you're getting these 10s, which is what a lot of people did back when it was $30 and so on. They basically said, you know, if I can get that, if I feel confident getting that 10, I'll send it in. And so you might see a trend where, I mean, you're starting to see that trend with Ultramodern where there's more 10s than 9s. Whether it be because people are more self-aware of sending in cards to grade, or whether it be because people are keeping their cards in better condition, or whether it be because people are more aware of, like, you know, what centering looks like and so on and so forth, or whether it be that grading companies have gotten easier. Like, there's so many different ways you can talk about this, but at the end of the day, one thing that's important to understand, regardless of the fact, is you can't find this overlap where raw is more expensive than PSA 9 graded cards, because if you do find that overlap, then you're going to start to see some real issues within this market, and there's going to be large price corrections coming, especially like Nostalgia was saying. You're going to see a large amount of orders come in once these $18 start to come out, and the population of this is going to absolutely skyrocket. And so you can sit here and say, yeah, I can send in my cards for grading and I can make money off of these 10s potentially by selling at $263, but who's to say you don't receive your card 6 months later and this price in that 6 month period goes down to $150? What's your margin point on that now, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing, is how much the market is going to shift. So people are basing their calculations off what the 9s and 10s are going for now. But by the time you get them back, which 6, 9 months, maybe 12 months, depending on how PSA gets backlogged again, you don't know what the market's going to look like then. And it could look a lot different. And then the other thing is that grading was usually set up back in the day when stores, you know, when even people can make a lot of money grading, where a PSA 8 usually would make your value back and basically break you even, maybe make you a little profit. PSA 9s were your wheelhouse, where you made good profit. Like, that was what you were kind of going for. If I get all PSA 9s, I'm going to do very well. And 10s were home runs. If it gets to the point where 8s are just complete garbage, you lose money. 9s, you still lose money, because with the grading fee and after shipping, eBay fees, and remember, there's other fees, everyone. There's shipping to PSA. There's paying for the return shipping back from PSA. So with all that, if you're not making money off of the 9 and you have to hit a 10 just to, you know, make money, there's not going to be any reason to grade. I mean, it's basically going to be an absolute gamble just to grade your cards. Maybe collectors still will, but for stores who, like, you know, part of their income was grading cards and getting those grades back, that's going to spell disaster for them. I mean, you're talking about like $18 plus shipping, you know, there and back, plus the eBay fees or whatever fees they're selling on, and shipping again, maybe $30 a card. I mean, if they can't get out of the cards for 15 or 20 bucks, it doesn't sound like a lot of money. Oh, I lose 10 or 15 bucks. When you multiply that by 100 cards, 1,000 cards, I mean, that could spell disaster for a lot of small time stores.
The only sort of grading fee I ever want is I want a premium fee for my card being worth more than I put it in for. That's the only fee you ever. You're just like, all right, I'll take that fee. That's a good one. My grade got a higher grade than I thought. All right, I'm fine with that. But God, man, all right, I feel like we need to answer some questions, because we haven't answered a question in forever. I know we talked about it. There's one I saw that I actually wanted to, because I'm like scrolling through and kind of reading the chat. And I've been just we've been having God, we've been going for the past hour and 20, man. We've just we've been going off. So I think it's
I'm all the way at the bottom of the chat. So before you get into those older questions, looks like Mike Dogs and Pokemon Jim here are going back and forth about maybe something we said about there's no $20 anywhere to be found. They're 25 to 27. You can still get out of them. I'm trying to figure out what you guys...
I think he's talking about the Cleaver and the Lucarios. So the prices that I got that for was when I was selling them. That's what I was selling them for. And I was saying that I was struggling to sell them at those prices. And then I know some other people were selling it for that price as well. I can't remember if it was Beckett Castle or if it was PSA Pikachu. But I do remember that, because I'm a part of like a bunch of like deals forums. As is a lot of people in the Discord. So if you want to join our Discord, links in the description below. People will post stuff all the time. But yeah, no, I mean, I myself, dude, like, I was selling them for 20 bucks a piece as like individual. And then if you bought a case, I was selling them for $18 a piece, which is like ridiculously cheap. And some people were selling them for like around 20 to 21 as well, for like the same product. So I wasn't the only one. It looks like if you're going off a TCG player or eBay prices, obviously it's going to be 25 to 27, but when you factor in shipping and fees, you're losing money off of that, because the shipping that it's going to cost to take something that weighs over a pound, that's an additional $8 right there off of shipping. And then on top of that as well, you're also factoring in the 15% TCG player fees. So if you're saying to yourself, 15%, you're selling it for $25, that's going to bring you down to $22, $23. So you're realistically selling it for around the same price, if not maybe making $1 or $2 more. However, if I'm selling it on my site for cheaper, but I'm selling it as a case instead of an individual, then that brings down my overall cost average so much greater, where I'm actually making more selling it for 18 to 19 bucks on my site in a case versus selling it individually on their site, because I'm paying an extra $4 to $5 each time for shipping. So that's where I'm getting that number. So if you're looking at kind of buying it, I would go check out other sites. Like I said before, PSA Pikachu is a good one. Beckett Castle is good. I mean, just go on Instagram and look up like TCG Saver, like the guy who posts signals. He's got like 15,000 followers. He has a Gengar on the front logo. The guy is a really chill guy, and he posts like discount deals and shouts people out all the time. But yeah, that's where I got that price. One question I did want to answer, if you don't mind me taking over on this one, though. I did also see this question, and this is in my wheelhouse. This is my bread and butter. So someone asked the question, I'm looking to buy a Diamond and Pearl Era booster box. Which set do you think will be the most collectible? Some of the sets don't have any chase cards, but I'd love to hear your guys' opinion. I'm actually, you know what? I want you to go first on this. I know you're not as knowledgeable about it as I am, but I'd still love to hear what your thoughts are.
Diamond and Pearl base set booster box? Is that what he said?
No, which Diamond and Pearl Era booster box is the most investable?
Yeah, I'll say that, but hey, the meeting I think is about to end again.
Oh, you're right. We got less than a minute. All right, sick. Let's do this again. Love to see it. I mean, we've got about another half an hour to 40 minutes before we end here anyway, so this should be the last time.
Okay.
We should have to do this. So, all right, I will.
Hold up, everyone.
Yeah, hold up. Wait a minute. We're gonna stop. We're gonna stop everything in a second. All right, see you in a sec. All right, sorry about the delay once again for that, guys. We'll get this up and running. But hopefully you guys are all enjoying the content, enjoying the conversation. Feel pretty good about it. Feel pretty good. Man, I love having to do this 3 times now. I didn't realize that they've always done this, because I've done Zoom streams before where we've never had issues like this, so it's kind of bizarre to me. Here, and we'll go full screen on this too, because there's nothing that we need to screen share. So you guys get to see my face in the background all in its glory. So, love to see it. But I do want to answer the Diamond and Pearl question, man. Mav says Game Nerds is selling them for 20 bucks. Yeah, there you go. And they get free shipping over 75 bucks. So, like I said, man, if you're looking TCG player, you're going to see higher prices because they're calculating in fees. But Cleaver and like Lucario, dude, they're cheap. They're like flash selling them everywhere. So, you should be able to find them for relatively cheap. But okay, we're good. You're good. All right, so we get 40 minutes is what it says. So, we'll definitely be good by then. So, the question for you to start. Looking to buy a Diamond and Pearl Era booster box, which one do you think is the most investable, and why?
See, I don't know what all the prices are in Diamond and Pearl booster boxes right now. That's my problem. And so, I mean, I could just say like what I think like a good set would be, but as far as like investable, I would have to see like what. It's such a hard question. I'd have to go research what they were at during the peaks, what they're at now. And kind of what the cards inside are still going for. Which one do I want to say?
I like this one because it's such an
whatever I'm gonna say, Eli's gonna like trash me for it. So
no, that's not true. If you say the right answer, no, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. How you feel about Stormfront?
I mean, Stormfront's a great one. I don't think that's a bad pick at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll go with Stormfront. I mean, it's got the Charizard in there, and
honestly, I think Stormfront's a great pick, especially considering with Stormfront, So that was the first Diamond and Pearl era booster box, which introduced double the level X rate. So the level X rate for standard DP was 1 in 36. Well, starting in Platinum era, it became 1 in 18, and the first set to ever do 1 in 18 was Stormfront. And also as well, it was the second set in the Diamond and Pearl era to introduce secret rare slots, but it went with the shiny. The first one was Mysterious Treasures with the Lake Trio secret rare, but this one, it really kind of captivated it. And I know people that currently are selling booster boxes on like Instagram and like Facebook marketplaces. They're selling it for around 5,000 to 5,500. And for a set like that, where it has a lot of really, really sought after chase cards and you get better pull rates, I think there's a lot of value. And I think that honestly, that's a solid pick in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I like the cards in it. You know, the Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard reprints, and I don't know. I think it's a pretty good set. I mean, I don't, like I said, for $5,000, I don't remember what it was going for at its peak, but that seems like reasonable prices.
I think at its peak sale, it was like $7,000 or $8,000. So it's dropped around $3K. So, but here I can even, for those people that are unfamiliar with the set Stormfront, we can take a look at it.
It's still less than an unlimited jungle or fossil or WotC box. So I mean, just putting in those terms, and there's I would guarantee less out there than those type of sets.
So obviously Charizard main pull, gorgeous. I know some people aren't the biggest fan of it. I am, but also it's because of the nostalgia for me. It's got really cool level X cards in it. Obviously, if you're a fan of Raichu, if you're a fan of Machamp, it has that in for you. If you're not a big Gen 4 fan,
just to stop you right there, I'll make sure everyone knows, like, when you look at the prices on TCG Player, just know that those are like the lowest price will be like damaged. So the Charizard isn't $54.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Evo says 5K. Where's that? Private sales. How do I want to say this? I'm friends with the top. How do I want to say this? I have an inner circle full of the top biggest Diamond and Pearl era collectors, and so I just know about a lot of sales that go under the table, basically. And so I can tell you all the prices on all booster boxes and what the market valuation is actually going for. So I mean, yeah, it's got cool shinies too. It's got a blue Voltorb. It's got a shiny Duskull. I mean, it introduced the reverse rare shiny slot, so that's extremely cool. Also as well, it's got a really good selection of holographics. I think you have the Gyarados, you have yourself the Gen 3 starters, you have the Gen 4 starters, you have you have the Salamence, you have the Tyranitar, you have the Magnezone. I mean, obviously some of these are Gen 4 cards. If you're not a big Gen 4 fan, then obviously it's not for you. But since we're talking Diamond and Pearl, then we're going to factor these things in, So Stormfront's a great one. Two ones that I wanted to talk about that were my other choices, because honestly Stormfront was one of the ones that popped up on the top of my head, so that was a good pick. But the other two that I love, I'll go with my first favorite one, and then I'll go with my second favorite one. But you could honestly get, I don't know, man. I think you'll probably get more value out of the second one, but it's hard to really say. So the first one, it's my favorite set of all time. I have a booster box of this, which honestly I might be selling it, so you might want to PM me on it, but on Discord. So, but it's Majestic Dawn. I mean, the value of this set is incredible, and the reason why is because the level X value is so much higher than any other Diamond and Pearl set ever, because the Leafeon and the Glaceon are the only level X's for the evolutions, and this one sold, I can tell you, it sold recently for around $10,000 on a private sale about a week or two ago. So, and then this one sold not that long ago for around, actually not that long ago. I want to say about a year ago now, I think is how long ago. So it was a while. This one sold for $1,000. This one sold for $3K on a recent private sale around 2 weeks ago. So the value of these level X's, I mean, Diamond and Pearl is still popping off because of everything going on with the remakes of the games. So the nostalgia is being brought in. Porygon, I think, sold recently for around 2K like a couple months back. So it's definitely the weakest of the bunch, 1,500 to 2K. But here's where the real value is in this set. These are great. These are the most valued level X's, which is why you're going to get so much value. It's the holographics. recently sold 3K, recently sold 3K, Mewtwo 2K. You're talking about these hollow Leafeons, and then you have the trio birds, you've got Darkrai Cresselia, you've got all the reverse hollow evolutions. You hit one of these in a reverse hollow, anywhere between 300 to 500. And then you're talking about these other cards which you would never think would be valuable, like the Fione hollow. Well, since there's only like a pop 3, a pop 4 of this card, this actually sold, I think, not that long ago for like $800. So the value of a lot of these cards based off of the pop report, you can get so much investability and value because Diamond and Pearl is such a low pop era. Eevee cards and Pikachu cards, I think one of the, I can't remember which one of these sold for around $150 to $200 as a common card. That's stupid money. So the value that you're able to get in this set is extremely, extremely high. Now the next one, before I take my breath, because I'm not letting Nostalgia Nomics talk, I feel bad, but I want to get this, I want to answer your question very in depth. This set is honestly, for what you're getting it for too, because the market value right now for the like Majestic Dawn is around 7.5 thousand ish, give or take, depending upon the condition. Secret Wonders is an interesting one because Secret Wonders, the value is so all over the place. I know some places sell it for around the same value, but here's where it's great. It's pretty weak on the level X's. Gardevoir is pretty nice. It's fine, but it's not like, you know, mind-bogglingly high. It's the hollows, which is where you're going to make your money because you've got yourself both in the hollow slot and the reverse hollow slot. You can get this Charizard, which is worth a stupid amount of money. You can get the Blastoise and the Venusaur. You can get a Lugia and a Mew and a Ho-Oh and a Salamence and a hollow and a Flygon. So it's like, if you're talking about level X value, which you get, it's 1 in 36 in this part, you're not really getting much value. Like, you can get the Gardevoir, great, but like I said, unless you're pulling that Gardevoir, it's nothing really exciting. You're really, really hoping that with your 11 other hits that you're going to be getting guaranteed, you're pulling one of these big boys, and it's in a good condition. Because you pull a Mew, sold for like several $1,000s. Charizard, God, I can't even remember the last Secret Wonder Charizard that sold for, oh my God, it sold for a stupid amount. So there's really a ton of value to be made. The only reason why I like it slightly less than, you know, Majestic Dawn is because they're typically selling for around the same price, but the value that you're getting from the level X's in Majestic Dawn is going to add so much greater value because you still get a ton of value from the hollows in both sets, and it just has a stronger level X. But that's my rant. That is it. I am done now. I apologize for speaking so much. I just know a lot. So
no, I mean, Secret Wonders was the other one I was gonna say. I think it's a great set as well. It is probably a better set than Stormfront, to be honest with you. Now going through it again, you know, I mean, it has the Suicune, Entei, and Raikou. It has the, you know, Ho-Oh, Lugia. It's got the big three. I mean, it is that. I mean, I think definitely on value on what you can get out of the graded cards, there's more value in that probably than the Stormfront. So I'm with you on that. I agree.
I mean, Stormfront's great though, dude. Like I said, the secret rares add such a level of value to it. I think the only difference is secret rares are 1 in 72, so they're a little bit harder to pull, but that's what makes them so great and so valuable. And, you know, it has a Charizard secret rare, a gold Charizard, a gold Charmeleon, and a gold Charmander, dude. Like that, I mean, it's solid, and it's got a good level X selection. It's got those secret rares, shinies, so it's not a bad one to pick up. So
what are you letting that box go for?
Oh, are you talking to me for my Majestic box? Oh, yeah. I know, that's a hard one. Well, if he said he's gonna message me on Discord, so that'll be something I'll talk to him about. But all I can tell you is that I got it from a booster box case, so I didn't get it from, like, this isn't like one of these, it has a rip in it, it's a little bit wear and tear. Like, this is the freshest you're ever gonna get. So it's like, this is like top of the line one. So, you know, I'll give him a good deal for what it's worth, but, you know, it's like, this is like one of the best conditioned ones. I got pretty lucky with it on a sale. I bought it from Collector's Cash, I think is who it was I bought it from. No, it was Dave & Adams. I bought it from Dave & Adams a while ago. So, and they were selling a booster case, and I was able to snipe it before anyone else picked it up. And it was, I got lucky. We'll just say I got lucky. So for me to get it for what its condition is in, I was like, yo, this is pretty fire. So, but yeah, no, I would say those are, I mean, honestly, I would definitely say top 3 for all of those sets. They're all just, oh God, they're so good. But it's funny too, because I made a video like when I talked about the worst sets of all time. I had to end up deleting it because I had technical difficulty issues. But taking my bias out of the mix, I actually put Diamond and Pearl as like top 3 as one of the worst sets. Because
Base set.
yeah, base set. Because like, although I'm a huge deep Diamond Pearl fan and I know like everything about it, when you talk about the actual value you're getting from this set, it is literally the 3 level X's, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But when you're talking about what it is from a collectability perspective, there is not a single card as a main chase holo that isn't part of Gen 4. And so if you're not a Gen 4 fan, then this set blows for you, which is kind of annoying. I guess there is a Machamp, but it's like, wasn't Machamp introduced in Gen 4? I'm not 100% certain. Or no, Machamp was, what am I saying? It was a Gen 1 card. I'm an idiot. So, yeah, so it's like, other than Machamp, which is a non-holo, it's like, there's not much here to love, you know? But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like the starters, the Gen 4 starters definitely don't perform like 1, 2, or 3 do, you know?
Not even close.
I think that's the problem is having those 3 as the level X's. I mean, you know, you definitely, I mean, if it was like, you know, either a Typhlosion or a Blaziken, you know, it probably would, you know, perform even better type thing where it's like, you know, the Gen 4 starters, they just don't have as much of the following. So.
Poke Gym Heroes makes a point. He said the value of these boxes don't come from what's in the box. It comes from the low availability. All these cards have print quality. So yes and no. I would definitely agree with you that in the Diamond and Pearl era, more than not, a lot of them had bad prints. But like there are sets like Great Encounters, for example, which Great Encounters was an extremely fresh printed set. So it's very case by case depending upon which one. Certain ones will have better. However, I will agree with you that of course there is a lower population because of some of the print qualities, but there's also a lower pop because for the longest time since Diamond and Pearl came out in 2007, market crash happened in 2008. A lot of people were not really into Pokemon that much and people started filtering out really in the EX era. And so because of that, you didn't get a ton of love and appreciation for Gen 4 era other than the kids that grew up in it. And so now you're seeing a reevaluation in the market because, you know, people that grew up in that era love the Level Access card, but most people, when they take a look at it, they're like, I hate the CGI design. It's not the same, which understandable. But I think you're really just coming and seeing a reevaluation in the market. But yeah, no, I mean, definitely a lower supply era, but you can kind of make the same argument with EX era though, because EX era as well, obviously Gold Star cards, although I think they're amazing, they're gorgeous, and I think they're some of the best art designs ever, you know, you can make the same argument as the only reason why these boxes are so much more expensive is because the print quality was around the same as Diamond and Pearl era, and there's so much higher level of scarcity in EX compared to Diamond and Pearl and WotC era stuff. So it's you know, you can make those comparisons across the board, you know, and the pops, like I said before, you know, it's not like there's a ton of pop 9s for these cards. There's just not a ton of pops for these cards in general because no one was grading them at the time. So, you know, it's really hard. But let's move on to another question as far as it goes so we don't get too stuck on that. You want to pick the next question and then just you rant for a while?
I don't want to get put on the spot because and so like it's like I'm sure people have been keep waiting for their question to be answered, and I'm just gonna pick a random one out of here. But
I know we do apologize for those people that usually watch me on my regular stream. I answer literally every single question, but since we have Nostalgia Nomics on and we're doing a lot of a back and forth, I do apologize because we're not gonna today be able to answer everyone's questions, so it will be at random.
Okay, right. I mean, this is a quick one. Ratha Zapdos asked, do you think distributors will start to be open to new business? What do you think? I mean, you got, when did you get set up with a distributor? How long ago?
I got set up with a distributor in late 2020, like winter 2020. So my official site release date was October 22nd, 2022. I remember it was 2 days after my birthday. And then,
you got accepted just as an online store. No, you didn't have a YouTube at the time, no physical presence. They just accepted you.
I got really lucky. I want people to make that very clear. I got really lucky. When I first got accepted by Magazine Exchange and I put in my application, they called me. I had an interview with my sales rep at the time. He basically was going to reject me, and then I told him to give me 5 minutes. I'll give him the most inspirational speech he's ever heard on why I'm going to be successful, and then he accepted me because of that. He made an exception to a rule that usually I would have never got accepted for, and then 6 months later, they closed their applications. So my timing to what I was able to get in at, it was luck. Like, it was real luck. I had no record sales. I had no YouTube channel. I had nothing to go off of. So the fact that my speech was enough to inspire him to be like, yeah, I'll totally give you it. Like, praise the Lord for that. That's all I can say. I got real lucky on that one. However, to answer his question, I can totally see that happening. Because if you're saying at this point right now where people are passing on so much product, I wouldn't be surprised within the next 6 months to a year, you do start to see LGSs start to take on more clientele because no one's buying the product. And they're going to need people to buy the product. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to have new people, fresh blood that are going to basically want to come in and be able to purchase product on these, special weekly sales pages like, Magazine Exchange has. And how are they going to be able to gain access to that? They're going to have to take some of the allocated product that's given to them as like kind of a caveat so that it's a win-win for both of them. You get opportunity to get your foot in the door, and then they get the opportunity to offload some of their garbage product on you that you're going to have to sit on and, eventually turn a profit on it. So that's how I think the transition will probably go. But
yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think, this isn't going to be like some gold rush, just because you get accepted by distribution doesn't mean like you're just going to be able to buy Evolving Skies and Brilliant Stars booster boxes and whatever the next type set is. Like, you have to take a bunch of garbage to eventually get to a bunch of that product. I mean, if you get in, you accept some of their garbage, the next big set that comes out that's selling like crazy, they might let you get a couple cases of, but it's not one of those things where you just kind of get accepted and then you cherry pick like the perfect items that to buy and that you can make the most money on. That's not how the distributors work. And so, a lot of the times if you're not, ready to make a big investment of time and money into, starting a legitimate business and moving a lot of product, it can make sense to just, keep buying where you can at the lowest prices you can and, finding deals. And that way you don't have to get in a bunch of product you don't actually want. So would you agree with that? Yeah.
One thing I did want to actually give a response to. First and foremost, I just want to say this just because I think it would be really cool for people to know this. We're currently sitting at 91 views. My record for the most people I've had at once is 93. We're literally 9 away from hitting 100. So if we hit 100,
tell your friends.
Yeah, everyone tell your friends. If we hit 100, I'm going to lose my mind. So make sure to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you're not, because this is pretty hype that we're actually that close to hitting 100 active viewers. So shout out to Nomics for coming on and helping boost the views on this one. So pretty hyped about that one if we can hit our record. But I want to actually say something. This is actually kind of cool in response to Pokemon Gym Heroes. Statement. He said, you're going through the values of cards on what PSA 10 sells for. No one's buying these DPB boxes or opening them. So actually, in response to that, the most recent sale, which sold 2 weeks ago from a Leafeon Level X, that was purchased, like I said, recently, but it was actually graded about a month ago from a break box that someone did for Majestic Dawn. So that was a a booster box fresh card that was recently opened. So, and the Garchomp that also recently sold 2 weeks ago in a 10, that for 3K, that was also from a separate booster box break that was about a month prior to that. So there's actually a lot of booster box breaks that happen on Instagram all the time. You don't see it a lot on YouTube because for some odd reason, people love doing Diamond and Pearl booster box breaks on Instagram. So surprisingly, that's where most of these sales are offline are actually coming from is Instagram. They're Instagram sales, they're Instagram booster box breaks. And I'm not going to lie to you, man, the prices that these people are paying for these breaks are a little overinflated. Like, I know a guy who sold out of a booster box break for Majestic Dawn. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think Majestic Dawn, like I said before, I gave you my price range, $7,500 give or take. He was selling the packs for $200 a piece, which equates to, if you got an art set, that equates to almost $9,000 for the booster box. There is no way that I'd pay $9,000 for a booster break pack for even if you hit the Leafeon on that. And the risk of that hitting a 9 versus a 10 is so great. So the fact that both booster boxes, one got a Garchomp level X 10 and then the other one got a Leafeon level X 10, the odds of that happening, especially on such a recent booster box, that's incredible, dude. That was crazy. Like, that was huge news when that happened. I was talking to one of my buddies, Raheem. He's also a moderator on the channel. Shout out to him if he's watching. But yeah, when we saw that sale happen, because he's also a huge Diamond Pearl fan, we were freaking out, dude. Because that was huge news in the Diamond Pearl community.
Yeah, and and like Pokemon Gym Heroes again, said breaks are different because they're not looking for themselves. I get it. Breaks can be different. They can get inflated. People get they're hyped up for it. But I would be really interested to kind of go through this era and see, because how I got a lot of my collection back in the day from WotC is breaking boxes. I mean, I can't tell you how many first edition WotC boxes I cracked, sold the lights, and opened the heavies and graded them. So I mean, if these prices get low enough and those those 10s stay high enough to where the chase is there, you just want to maybe go for it. And the 9s are worth enough to maybe get you to break even. It might end up being worth it to crack stuff open again. I don't know. Maybe those days will come back. I'd love for that to happen.
I mean, yeah, dude, the guy bought an art set, so he spent $800, pulled the Leafeon, grades in a 10, boom, just made himself like 10K. So yeah, stupid that he was able to, of course, sell it for so much. Oh, that's interesting. He said if you think the Charizard and Lugia is overpriced, then you have to agree the Leafeon Glaceon's overpriced. 1,000%. Those cards are overpriced as heck, man. I think that Leafeon should be worth I don't know. I think the Glaceon should be worth realistically compared to... So here's what I think, actually. I'm going to say this quickly. I think most level X's are overinflated at this point because of the nostalgia that came back with the Diamond and Pearl remakes. And so for that reason, you're seeing a huge spike in 10s. Now, if you watch the trends, the 9s are actually going down. So I think 10s are finally going to start to come down relatively soon. I could be wrong, but that just makes sense with the trends and everything going on the general markets. But yeah, I think all these cards are overinflated, and I think the true value of this Glaceon is in the low 1,000s, and then the Leafeon is probably around 4 to 5. I gotta imagine is what it should be worth, because I remember the record-breaking sale it sold for 15,000 is the highest it sold for on a private listing. So, because a lot of these big sales that aren't recorded are very much private listings because they want to avoid all these fees for such large transactions. Yeah. So yeah, no, it should definitely be worth around, in my personal opinion, get down to that price point, and then most level X's should be worth less than $1,000, I think. But yeah, dude, but just because it's overinflated doesn't mean that's not what the market value currently is, because I think markets will adjust over time. I think it should be worth this point eventually, but that's just not what it is right now, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, some are overvalued, but like, here's the thing, they are rare. They are, this is a very low printed era. If you even look at like the early XY sets, I don't know if you follow those at all, but like XY base, Flashfire, like Phantom Forces, go look just the XY base, like Full Art Blastoise and Venusaur. Those in 10s, you can't even find. The pops are so low. I think they're like in 40s or something. Really hard to find. They go for thousands of dollars, and the 9s are only going for like $100 or $200. So it's like, it has the same type of 9 to 10 ratio that era has. Yeah, let's check it out here. This is the Full Art Charizard. See, there's $1,750, but only $155 as a 9, and that gives you kind of idea. And it has the same type of. If you go to XY base and check out, like, go to XY base and look at the Full Art Blastoise or Venusaur. It'll give you a lot more closer comparison to what you saw with the Diamond and Pearl era stuff, to where the 9s are really aren't as valuable, and the 10s are just astronomical because it's so hard to grade them. And let's check it out. Okay, well, there's no sales, but the lowest one on eBay are usually thousands of dollars, and there's only 21 in the population. So that gives you an idea of how crazy it can be. Like, I know if we go to eBay right now, because I've been looking at a lot of XY stuff. That's the only reason I know about these so closely. But so let's see, base. I'll try to find it real quick.
If you want to screen share it as well, I can exit out of my screen.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm just gonna try to see what the lowest one's going for. Yeah, so there's only. This is Japanese. There's only one listed, and it's listed at $5,000. Like, so there's no option to even buy this card right now, realistically. And there's none on the recent sale, so nothing sold in the past 3 months publicly on eBay. So, there's cards like these where the population's so low that they things like Diamond and Pearl, like, yeah, the prices seem ridiculous, but when populations are that low, you get crazy bidding wars, and you get people who are just chasing rarity and chasing scarcity that are willing to pay those multiple thousands of dollars of prices when the PSA 9s may only be worth $100 or $200. So that's not like something that's, just a Diamond and Pearl era thing. It's kind of all Pokemon era thing, right?
Well, what you're saying and everything we're talking about right now goes to a great point that I made in my video yesterday. So when I was talking about yesterday's video, I was talking about kind of junk slabs in the future of like ultra modern grading. I was telling people that because you're talking about XY era, dude. Like this is, you can go back and look at this right now in Sun and Moon era. So like look at the second most expensive card, of course, outside of the Charizard from Unbroken Bonds. If we go take a look at the Gardevoir and the Sylveon GX, the population on this for a 10 is only 256. For a set that came out literally like 3 or 4 years ago now, this is a very, very low pop report. I mean, you're seeing cards that are like older, way older than this, like 10, 20 years like older than this, that are at around the same pop, and the value for this card is only 177 from some recent sales and dropping. That's kind of crazy to me. So if you're talking about, Eli, I want to go send in all my cards for ultra modern cards for grading, bro, if you're gonna really try and make value off of flipping cards and like look at these things as potential long-term investments, I feel like you can go find value off of these bigger chase cards in the Sun and Moon and XY era. Now granted, Sun and Moon had a lot better of a print than the XY era. Of course, exception being Burning Shadows had a terrible print. And then an even bigger exception to that was like the Evolutions XY Charizard, which was also crappy. But for the rest of the set, it was a pretty good print. But yeah,
like Breakthrough. I mean, Breakthrough had like all the Mewtwo's. I mean, there was like 10 Mewtwo's total, but I think maybe like 4 of them are actually like hits. Yeah, like right there, like the 2 secret rares, the 2 full arts. I mean, those are actual hits. I'm pretty sure. That's a $300 card in a 10.
128, dude. That's the pop. It's 128. Yeah.
And those boxes are only about $500 a box. If that guy gives you an idea, and that's just one hit. Let's see what the full arts are at. I know there's 2 full arts that have some value as well. Yeah, whether it be the 285. I mean, nothing crazy, but like the pops are just so low on these cards. 113 population.
But that's not even the thing, man. Is think about it this way, dude. You know how we're talking about if you go right now and you grade a Leafeon full art VMAX, and if you get a 9, you lose money. If you get a 10, you make money. Yeah. Market price for this card right now is $38.38 on TCG Player, and the 9 is $99. You make your money if you hit the 9, which obviously XY era is it's such harder because the print runs on XY is such worse than Sun and Moon. So if you're gonna go like the buy a bunch and regrade, Sun and Moon's a better method to do it that way. But even then, the point I guess that I'm trying to get with this is if you are someone that wants to invest in like newer slabs that are pretty affordable, and you're a huge like believer in ultra modern slabs doing well long term, you can find a lot of XY era slabs with super low pop. And like, think about this, guys. Mewtwo is a super popular character, and to say that, these big Mewtwo collectors aren't eventually going to want to pick up one of these bad boys for their collection with such a low pop, long term, I could see this card doing really well for as low pop as it is, especially considering you look at the disparities between, the 9 and the 10, as well as the market price. So it's like, there's so much more.
How cards just work in general is, as more get graded, and like you said, the print runs aren't as good, and the disparity between the 10 and the 9 pop reports get greater and greater. Usually the price of the 10s get greater and greater because, once you get a pop report where the 10s maybe go up to maybe say 150, but the 9s go to 400, 600, 800, that's where you see those values rise. And here's another one. Like, this is just a full art. So realistically, you could pull a full art and a super rare in the same box. I mean, there's just a lot of values, things like that. And all the pop reports of all these cards are like 1 and 200s, where even first edition base, a lot of those I believe are in like 300-400 range, aren't they? I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, I just know in 1 and 200s, those are very low populations for any era to have PSA 10s.
No, it's ridiculous. And it's like one of those things too. It's like, like I said before, man, there's so many different ways to kind of approach this kind of things, and there's definitely that balance. I think John is saying this in the chat right now. He brings up a good point, man. It's like when you have cards that are very like popular character cards with low pop, and then you also talk and you add those two things together, like that's a recipe for long-term success. It's one thing, obviously, if you have cards that are higher population report, but they're still like high demand character cards, you can still find value in that for sure. because they're high demand character cards if you're getting them in at a great price or your margins are good when you're talking about sending in for mass grading at like PSA or like Beckett, because there are those opportunities, there are those niches, and being able to find that is where you can really start to kind of stand out between other people. Where it's a little bit different, like I said, going back to it, is if you can find that like sweet spot of low pop, high demand character, and it's an undervaluation for what it could be long term. Like that's something that it kind of makes me wonder, man. Like, you know, a lot of these XY cards could potentially be slept on. And think about it in the next 5 to 10 years, man. If you're telling me that, you know, they come out with a remake for XY, because let's be honest here, man, they're going to remake every game. They remade everything up and until Gen 4. Guess what's coming next? It's going to be black and white. If you're telling me that you're eventually going to do one for XY era, and you're going to have a bunch of these XY era cards, specifically, they're, let's say, you know, going to add Mewtwo cards newer, and you're going to have, you know, huge character cards that are going to get their reprints, or they're going to get their like remakes, the nostalgia is going to come back in a flood, and it's going to add a lot of value long term to these cards, especially once we get to our new kind of bull market cycle for Pokemon. So definitely something.
The other thing I like about XY is that when you look at the sets, you know, going back to talk about popularity in the cards, I mean, look at the sets. Like, you have like Rayquaza sets, you got Mewtwo sets, you have, you know, Alakazam sets, you have Charizard with Flash Fire, in base set you got Venusaur and Blastoise being the chase card. You know, you got Phantom Forces, which is all Gengar, and you got the Silver Dialga too. I mean, it's like all these sets are based off of like the most mainstream characters that people chase after. So that's another thing that's going to be chased, is just the popularity of those cards. A lot of XY is like the first full art versions of a lot of those cards. So that's why I've been looking at that. But yeah, it's like those are the type of things you can look for in any era, like that popularity, the population report, you know, what hasn't risen yet. Look at the disparity of the 9s and 10s compared to the raw. Like, these are all the things we're talking about that everyone should be doing for themselves when they're looking to put real money into this stuff.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And obviously, as always, guys, like, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Please do your own research. But yeah, finding these niches, finding these kind of sweet spots where the market is undervaluing it. And before, back in the day, you know, it really felt like you couldn't find that. But now that everything's going on with, you know, market corrections and so on and so forth, I mean, honestly, man, I think that's kind of it. Like, I think that's where the niches are going to start to happen. I think John is pointing out a very good example of that. He's talking about the high demand, low printed Vaporeon VMAX promos. Have you seen the value of what these promos are now going for? It's ridiculous. Because I hear a lot of times people say like promos are worthless and never invest in them, never engrade them and stuff. But I don't know, man. I've never been on that kind of bandwagon train, especially when you're seeing what's happening with some of the lower pop ones.
Are those the ones in those VMAX boxes that are going for like $100 a piece now? Is that the ones we're talking about?
Yeah, and the Vaporeon is going for around $50-ish right now, which is stupid expensive.
I mean, I think those boxes were way too short printed for how popular they are. I think it was just one of those weird products that just kind of slipped through Pokemon's fingers where they didn't print enough, and you know, there's just not enough for the demand that's out there, and they're just pushing them to the moon.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I agree. And honestly, too, like, I know that you're going to have, like, everyone's going to have their different opinion on this, but this might sound crazy. I think there's real value to be made on a lot of these high-demand artwork promos for Beckett. Because, obviously, you know my stance on where I am with, you know, and I'm going to come out with a YouTube video of this pretty, like, within the next year or so, when prices on Beckett start to drop more. But when I talk about, really, if you want to talk about ultra-modern grading, basically anything Sword and Shield era or what is going to be newer, populations at this point for PSA are so great, it's really hard to make your value. But if you look at the disparity between a lot of these Beckett price cards in the Sun and Moon era for, like, reprint sets like Hidden Fates, and I know people would love to say, well, that's ridiculous that people would pay this price. That's not what it's worth. If people are willing to pay the prices, that's what they're worth. That's how it is at the end of the day. And when I'm seeing someone sell a shiny Greninja from Hidden Fates in a Beckett Black Label 10 for $6K, like, my ears start to perk up on that, you know? And when you start to see a lot of these other cards that are Black Label 1 pop, 2 pop cards from Beckett, and people are seeing sales on this card, Because at the end of the day, man, this is not just everyday investors. Like, these are wealthy investors that have the money to come in and buy these black label cards, and they're willing to spend that money on them. And so for me, if you can find these cards that are severely undervalued for what the value that you could get on returns on sending them in for grading at current grading prices, and then hitting 9.5s, 10s, and then potentially Beckett black labels, which I think a black label is about, we did like an average on it. It's like 1 in 90 is what your odds are if you were to send in like 90 pack fresh like ultra modern cards. So it's like you can really find value on like a lot of these cards where you're saying to yourself, let's say I buy a card that's worth $10, right? And then the black label right there, I buy 100 of them, and the black label puts it to $1,000. Well, if you're hitting 9.5s and 10s on the rest, and you just hit one black label per odds, like eventually you're going to find your value on that, which obviously, you know, you have that risk to reward, you have your calculations on what, you know, it works for you. And if you're willing to take those risks, but I still think that as prices continue to drop down right now with graders, and Beckett is going to have to become competitive on that compared to what PSA is doing, it wouldn't surprise me if you would start to see a little bit of a shift for ultra modern cards, because you get so much greater premiums grading with Beckett more than you do PSA.
Yeah, I think it just kind of, you know, it's that more of that gamble, right? Because if you get the lower grades on Beckett, you lose out. But it really makes sense when you're, you know, more of an expert grader or pre-grader, and you understand what you're sending, you know, because people, you know, sending in just kind of anything could definitely get caught a little bit on Beckett too, though.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I mean, there's a reason why the premiums are greater. You're having to take the, I guess the risk is the right word to say for this one, of getting a lesser grade because they grade a little bit harsher. So, but
Makes sense though. I mean, hey, if you got a pristine card, you're gonna make more as a Beckett 10 than you are as a PSA 10. So I get it.
Yeah, no, 1000%, dude. So we're in the final, it looks like 2 minutes before we run out of our session, and we've been going for over 2 hours. So we're in the kind of final countdown. Is there any kind of closing statements you want to make, or any sort of points that you want to state before we kind of get out of here?
No, I had a great time. Hope the chat had a good time. Maybe next time we can hit our 100 quota.
Yeah, so close.
I think it's harder during the day to, you know, not everyone's at work or, you know, busy. So I mean, I get that too, but I'm sure Eli's the same here. I appreciate everyone stopping by, listening to us talk about the market. Hope everyone picked up something. And yeah, man, thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Obviously pretty impromptu, so I'm really glad we were able to make it work. But yeah, I really appreciate it. Had a good back and forth. And then as always, guys, please understand that these are opinions. It's not financial advice. And, you know, take everything we say with a grain of salt too. We obviously talk about just because individuals, you know, that are in this hobby have made all their kind of bread and butter from, you know, selling themselves that they're these experts when sometimes they're not. We also ourselves are just, you know, kind of connoisseurs, fans of the hobby, and we're knowledgeable, but we're not experts on everything. We just, you know, look at kind of what works for us. We look at statistics, we look at the numbers, and yeah, that's just kind of what our points are in regards to what we're all about. But yeah, thank you all once again so much for watching. As always, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, be subscribed to the YouTube channel. And once again, last announcement, guys. We've got about 8 packs left for our break packs that we're going to be doing. Oop, there goes his face. So he's getting kicked out of that. So I'll make the final statements and then I'll bring him back on. But so sorry about that, guys. Last announcement, we have 8 of the mystery packs left, only $40 a piece. You got same odds as you would if you bought any sort of our competitor ones. Main prize is going to be, of course, the Fossil Unlimited Heavy Pack, and we're going to have that as one of the golds. You can go check that out in our link in the description down below at PokemartUSA.com. But that is all.